So hi Tracy, we meet again. And this is the final of our series of interviews together, or possibly for now. So today we're going to be talking about breathing and stress and anxiety, because unfortunately stress and anxiety is far too common in everyday life, but there's also things that can be done to help to reduce its impact on us. So before we get into that subject, can you just explain to us a little bit about the fact that you're a functional breathwork instructor and what that means?
Sure, and thank you for having me back again, Rachel. It's lovely to be with you.
Yeah, pleasure.
So functional breathwork is based on two things. First of all, it's blood chemistry. So the interaction of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the blood. And secondly, it's about the biomechanics of the body. So how our breathing muscles move, how that impacts on our rib cage, our spine, and our brain and organs.
Perfect. And so it's then through your teaching that you can then help people to be breathing in a better way.
Yes, it's implementing functional breathing pattern techniques to improve their current breathing habits.
Marvelous. And so as far as with stress and anxiety, then how does that impact on our bodies?
Well, our stress response is really not something that you can totally eliminate, because our bodies will naturally feel stress. You can have good stress, you can have bad stress. And what I mean by that is, for example, good stress would be pushing the body to perform for a sporting activity, for example. Whereas bad stress is, in a sense, where we internalize the anxiety that we feel, and the body has a physiological response. So the heart rate tends to increase, the cortisol levels will increase. That can cause shortness of breath, tightness in the chest, headaches, tingling in the fingers, and just feeling a little foggy and not really being able to think clearly and reason. So fortunately, if we change our breathing patterns, we are able to eliminate and alleviate a lot of these symptoms purely through self-awareness and understanding.
Because like I say, the bad stress, and particularly because that with this pings and there's so much stimulation in everyday life, it's like you can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of the long-term stress has that impact on your body. So are you saying then with the way that you breathe can lower your body's response to stress and anxiety?
Yes, and
yeah.
The way to think about this is, when we worry, the mind is then very active, and it's almost circling around one thought, and it's not moving beyond that. And we literally waste energy when we're in that headspace, because the brain requires fuel to function. And that fuel would be things like glucose and oxygen, just like you need the same for, you need that for your muscles to move so that you can walk or run or sit. And if your brain is using more glucose and more oxygen when you're worrying, you're actually just wasting all of this energy and putting this unnecessary stress on the body. So part of the training that I work with people on is really understanding how to calm the nervous system, how to bring that heart rate down and move from the fight or flight response into the rest and digest response. And being able to move successfully between both of those means that you have a much healthier nervous system, because naturally the body is going to experience both. You don't want to be in fight or flight all the time, particularly if you're trying to go to sleep. But you also don't want to be in that rest and digest phase all the time, because then you won't be able to perform when you need to. So the key between that is the breath and understanding how to calm the heart rate, slow the breathing volume down. And there are various techniques that we can use to do that, which, when you have developed self-awareness, can be a real preventative to help you move away from feeling that stress, that anxiety that can literally take over and just make you feel really unwell and out of sorts.
That explains why stress and anxiety is so exhausting as well. Like you say,
Yeah.
there's energy demands on the body. And it also links in very nicely with other interviews that we've done. As you're saying, like chronic and your long-term stress can be affecting and dampening down your immune system and can be affecting your sleep. So by helping the way that you breathe, you're helping more than just helping to just feel a lot calmer and more energized in your everyday life. So yeah, interesting indeed, how things interconnect with each other. So what solutions are there available that, from what you do, that can help to manage stress and anxiety?
Well, there are several techniques that you can use. You know, one of the simplest things you can do, which I always say to people if they've never done any kind of breath work before, is keeping the mouth gently closed, focusing on nasal breathing, and just slow the breathing down. And anybody can do this. You know, literally within 90 seconds, you can shift your state from feeling stress to feeling calmer, and inhaling through the nose and then extending the exhale as you do that. And if you did that for 90 seconds, if you think about that, that's less than the time it takes to make a cup of tea. You can immediately feel a change in the body. You can start to bring the heart rate down, the cortisol levels will drop. It will, of course, be different for everybody. If you are in a hypersensitized state, or you're prone to panic disorder, which is a lot more extreme, the body may take longer to shift. But for most of us, dealing with everyday stresses and just needing that moment of calm, just that short 90 seconds, inhaling through the nose, slowing your exhale down, can just refocus the mind and calm the nervous system.
I think it just helps to just bring you into the present moment a little bit as well, and just take you away what it is that's whirring around. So within that, you're saying that you're breathing out for longer than you're breathing in, or is it the actual speed of how you're breathing out as well?
No, it's breathing the exhale will be longer. So for example, if you breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6.
Perfect. Yeah. So just in relation to, like I say, because all of our breathing will be different, so it's just in relation to that. And the great thing with that technique is it doesn't matter, like say, you could be boiling the kettle, you could be standing waiting for, I don't know, a bus. It doesn't matter where you are.
Well, I have clients who do that while they drive, you know.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Really slowly while they're driving, because that's their moment of peace and quiet, and they can sort of reestablish calm. You know, but I also want to add that, you know, we can't get away from stress. It's part of life. So it's about acknowledging it and understanding how to use it in a positive way, but also if we don't need that to be in that stress state, how do we take ourselves out of it?
That's something that you see so much in animals where they have a stress and then they kind of tear around and run around. It's that releasing it as well, isn't it? Like you say, you can't get away from it. So yeah, and the perception of it. And is there anything else that you can recommend as far as just helping to bring somebody away from a stress or an anxiety state?
Well, one of my favorite exercises to share with my clients, which I'm very happy to share with you all today, is if you are able to lie down on the floor, on a yoga mat, on the bed, it's fine, and take a book, something with a little bit of weight, and just place that book on your tummy, just underneath your sternum, so it sits on the top. And with your knees up and your shoulders down, relaxed, close the eyes, and just gently inhale through the nose and softly exhale. And you could do the 4 seconds and 6 seconds if that works for you. But it's not really essential. It's not about the number. It's much more about focusing on the sensation in the body. And the purpose of having a book on the diaphragm is when you take a full inhale, that book will rise. And as you take a slow exhale, the book will fall. And that movement and feeling in the body focuses the mind on the slow inhale and exhale. And if you did that for a couple of minutes, that would really help to calm your heart rate, calm the nervous system, and essentially remind the body that it's safe. And that's a chemical reaction that happens in the brain. So when the breathing is calm, it'll send a signal to the brain that everything is fine, everything is good. And a few minutes of that can really have a powerful effect on reducing stress and anxiety. But in the same context, you may be sitting in an office and you can't lie on the floor, you don't have a yoga mat handy. You could be sitting at your desk and merely placing your hands on your lower two ribs. Close your eyes and do the exercise seated, and feel lateral expansion as you inhale, and as you exhale, the ribs moving back in. And the reason we focus on lateral expansion is because we want you to breathe from the base of your lungs. That's going to really activate the diaphragm, because the diaphragm is a big striatic muscle and it needs to move freely. And when we're tense, we hold so much tension in the muscle that the diaphragm will constrict. So by having that movement and that mindful motion of expansion and contraction, other than calming the mind, it also helps the diaphragm to activate properly and for you to get much more air into your lungs, which essentially oxygenates the brain, the tissues, the organs, and you feel good.
Yeah, very much. And if you're at work, get everybody else to do it too.
Very good idea.
Workplace calm, it'd be good for everyone. And so I just want to go back to, you were saying when doing the exercise, when you're lying down, and you said knees up. So did you mean so that your knees are bent and your feet are on the floor, or that you lift your legs?
No, your feet are on the floor and knees are bent. So it's the supine position. And that's really just to protect the lower back so that there's no pressure on the back.
Yeah, marvelous. And we'll just make sure that there's the full instructions below the video as well, if anybody wants just a quick reference point as well. So for anybody that's been watching this video and the exercises that you've shared, thank you so much. I'm sure they'll be helpful. But as far as managing long-term stress and keep staying as calm as possible and helping to relearn how you'll breathe, can you just share with us a little bit about how somebody might do that if they'd like to find out more information about yourself and how you work?
So I work with individuals and teams, groups on Zoom, also in person, and I teach functional breathing techniques to enable them to become part of your lifestyle. So they are integrated. I do 3-week programs on Zoom. I also do monthly taster sessions for people that are just curious to know a little bit more about what functional breathing is. And I do live workshops and retreats where we spend a few hours together and breathe together and learn about how the body moves, which really is essential for life. So yeah, I'd love to speak to anyone. They can contact me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. And I'm very active under my name, which is Tracey Howes.
Perfect. And we'll make sure all of that information goes alongside this video as well. So thank you so much for sparing the time. This information, I'm sure, will be really helpful for people, for helping to know really that there's help and there's things that you can do to help to manage your stress levels in a really easy to implement way as well. Because what's just springs to mind is actually just how kind of how much of your day that you would need to do the breathing techniques that you cover on your courses. So I just realized there that they can just explain to us a little bit about how much of the day could be impacted. You know, if somebody's already got a very busy schedule and tons more, how can I add anything else in, just to how that would be for them in their everyday life?
It's a great question, because integration is often where we fall down with anything. You know, we love what we learn and then we don't put it into practice. So the first thing I'd say is it's being self-awareness of nasal breathing. If you can practice nasal breathing and check in with yourself a few times during the day, and most people who've done my course, this is the feedback I get, is they're thinking about their breathing. That's a great starting point, and that doesn't take up any other time because that's what you're doing anyway. The exercises I teach start from 2.5 minutes. So you could do them before bed, first thing in the morning. There's none of this having to spend half an hour to an hour on breathing exercises, because then it just wouldn't happen. It has to be easy to integrate with other things in your life, like your walking, your exercise in the gym, driving, gardening. It's really, you know, making it part of your lifestyle choices.
And that's the beauty of it. You can just integrate it alongside everything that you're doing. So perfect. So thank you so much for your time. I'm sure this can be really helpful for people. And like I say, we'll make sure that all of the information is alongside this video if people want to explore and find out a little bit more. So thank you so much for your time, Tracey.
Pleasure as always. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.